Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Inshallah, today we are going to start with part number 2 in our textbook of the sales management. Part number 2, as you can see, it is entitled, please, Sales Force Activities. The title of chapter number 4 is Account Relationship Management. So all the time we have to remember our relationship with the management should be sustainable. So if it is going to be sustainable, we should address the issue of managing or the issue of management. How we are going to manage this relationship with our own customers. To prepare our discussion for this topic, we would like to have an overview. This overview is going to focus on the account relationship management concepts. In the sales management, we are going to talk about 4 major concepts. We will talk about them in a very detailed way later on during covering chapter number 4. We will talk about account purchasing process. Then we are going to talk about the buying center. The third, we are going to talk about the building account relationship. Or finally, we will conclude by account relationship vendors. So all these 4 concepts, we will cover and review them in a very detailed way. To start, let's begin talking about the steps which we are going to take in our own personal purchasing decision. In other words, we would like to listen from one of the students about what are the major steps which she is going to make in order to finalize any decision relating to purchasing. What are the major steps which you are making or taking? Wala.
First step, we identify the needs, what I need. Then I evaluate the options. I look for the options or what I have.
Yes.
Third, I take the purchase decision. Then I evaluate if I satisfied for this product or not.
Excellent. So as well as stated, all the time remember, if you are going to talk about the stages or the steps in our purchasing decision, we are going to classify them into 4 steps. Number 1, recognition of needs. In other words, we would like to recognize what do we need, what kind of the product which we would like to have, or what kind of service which we would like to get. Later on, we will begin talking about the evaluation of options. What are the alternatives which are available in the market, and which option which is matching with what I need exactly. Later on, or the third stage of this decision purchasing or the purchasing decision is purchasing decision itself. In other words, I am going to take a decision to purchase and to buy. The final step is going to be the implementation and the evaluation. Implementation means I concluded my purchasing decision and now I am evaluating it. When we are saying I am evaluating it, is the product or the service which I got, is it okay? Is it satisfying, or did it satisfy my need? So all these questions must be answered clearly and precisely. Now, let's give a realistic example. If one of the students, for example, would like to buy a cell phone. Now, if you are going to look at this student, she will say, I need a cell phone for conduct and organize my communication with my friends, colleagues, and family members. Sometimes she might be hesitant to do that, especially if she has a telephone in her own house and if she has email, account, and internet access. She might be hesitant not to buy a cell phone. Why? Because the telephone, along with the email participation or access, is a tool for communication also. So here we are talking about recognition of the needs. The student is going to think in a very detailed and deep way, and she might say, what I am going to do while I am in the campus or in the university? Do I need to buy a cell phone to be all the time with me in classrooms and out classrooms and in campuses and in the street? If she decided, yes, I need it, then we can say she recognized her need. Later on, she is going to look about the evaluation of the options. Now, We are talking about various types and categories. We are talking about Nokia type. We are talking about Apple type. We are talking about Samsung type and so on. So all these are alternative for the product which we need in this example, which is the cell phone. Later on, we are going to take a decision of purchasing. In other words, we decided to finalize our decision. And for example, we took a decision to buy a reasonable cell phone. Let's imagine it is Nokia or Nokia. Later on, we implemented the decision and we began evaluating our decision after 6 months or 1 year. If the cell phone was working throughout this previous time in a very nice and good way, then our evaluation is going to be positive. But if our cell phone faced or encountered troubles and problems and it required or demanded maintenance, then our evaluation is going to be negative. If it is negative, we do not think we are going to repeat the same experience in the future. But if our evaluation is positive, then we are talking about a stronger probability, exceeding more than 70 or 60%. We will repeat and rebuy another cell phone from the same type or category. So this is exactly the major steps which we will experiment or live during the purchasing decision. We finalize these issues. Now we would like to talk about the other point of view, which is what are the major responsibilities and the duties which must be done by the salesperson under every single step. Under every single step. So let's begin. Step number 1, we agreed it is going to be the recognition of the needs. So what are the responsibilities and duties which salespersons must do under this stage or step? Look at here. All the time, salespersons, they must help customers. How we are going to help them? By recognizing a need or a problem and defining them in a new or different way. Well, let's stop here and talk a little bit about it. Many times, this might happen with us. We are going to enter a supermarket or a grocery or a shop or any buying center. And we are going to look at the shelves and we are going to look at the various products. Or by the end, we are going to leave this buying center without taking any decision of purchasing. If you are going to ask yourself, why is this? You will say internally, I do not recognize what I need. Is this happening with you?
Yeah.
Many times. It is happening with everybody. Now, in this case, who is going to step forward? The salesperson. This salesperson must come directly and he or she must be able to help the customer to formulate and to identify what they need exactly. If the salesperson or if the salesperson has a very deep technical knowledge about the problem or the issue which is agonizing the customer, then for sure this salesperson will help him or her to put her hand on the product or the service which she needs. Later on, under the stage number 2, also salespersons, they are going to have other responsibilities and duties. To evaluate the options or the alternatives of the products or the services, the salesperson must identify the options, provide superior solutions and approaches to help overcome obstacles. Obstacles to acquisition. Acquisition means owning, purchasing. So here, imagine all the times the salesperson will be asked, what are the alternatives which are available on the shelves? What is their own quality? What are their own specifications? What is their cost? What are the raw materials which are used in the manufacturing process and so on? So in this case, the salesperson, they must have the answer. Otherwise, they are not going to help the customer to evaluate the options. And if they are not going to help the customer to evaluate the options, this means we left the customer swimming alone. Which means, till now the customer is hesitant. And he or she cannot take a decision simply because they do not have a deep knowledge about the alternatives. About the alternatives. Now, Let's talk about the third stage. On the third stage, we are talking about purchase decision. Under the purchase decision, the salespersons, they have extra responsibilities, including making the purchasing process convenient and hassle-free. Hassle-free means trouble-free. Hassle-free means trouble-free and inexpensive. When we are talking about the word convenience, we must remind the 3 items. Number 1, time. Number 2, effort. Number 3, cost. So if the time and the effort and the cost are at their own minimal levels, then we can say that the purchasing process is convenient. If the time and the cost and the effort are too demanding, then we can say that the purchasing process is inconvenient. All the time, remember, customers prefer the easiest and the convenient way to buy. Buy. Let's talk about the final stage, which is implementation and evaluation. In the fourth and the final stage, if you are going to look at the salesperson here, he or she must support the purchase decision by showing customers how to install and use the product, replenish and evaluate value. All these things are responsibilities of the salesperson.
The most important one, evaluation of
Alternatives? We cannot say this. All of them are important. Why? Exactly. We are talking about individual differences among customers. Sometimes the customer is going to be under this stage. Sometimes a second customer is going to be under the second stage. Sometimes a third customer is going to be in the third stage. And sometimes a fourth customer is going to be in the fourth stage. So this imposing on us as a sales agency to equip and to prepare our sales staff member to be able to respond and to contribute and to answer any question which might be raised under any one of these 4 stages. Any questions, any comments about this? Any question? It's clear. Now, let's move on. In the coming 3 slides, we are going to talk about something called survey or study. This survey or study, it was conducted in America. The sample participants who filled this questionnaire or who answered these questions, they were customers. Those customers, they were trying to evaluate the performances of the sales agencies, or in other words, suppliers. So the word supplier is equivalent to the word sales agency or sales business. The first question which the sample participants answered, do you track supplier performance? The answer was more than 80% of the respondents or the customers, they said yes. We are tracking their own performance. Well, about 16% said no. This means what? It means the customer isn't stupid. The customer isn't dealing with the supplier or the sales agency according to event basis. In other words, the customer is dealing with the sales agency according to a process and life experience basis. Therefore, a lot of the customers, they are going to track or follow up the performance of their own suppliers. Are we talking about excellent performance or are we talking about bad performance? If we are going to talk about bad performance, this is going to incite the customers to give up dealing with the supplier. On the other hand, if we are talking about excellent performance, this is as well going to incite the customer to continue dealing with the supplier. The second question was, do you single out certain supplier as a preferred supplier, a preferred sales agency, which we would like to continue working with? The majority, they are saying more than half or 50%, they said yes. Well, about 36% they said no. Well, about 9% said NA, not available. In other words, they didn't answer this question. They didn't answer this question. But the majority, they are saying, yes, we would like to classify sales agency to be a preferred seller or supplier. Somebody is going to say, is this happening in our actual life? The question or the answer is yes. Take this example. Imagine you are living in a very small neighborhood. When this small neighborhood, you are having 3 kinds or types of supermarket. One of them is for Mr. Muhammad, the second is for Mr. Ali, or a third for Mr. Iman, or Miss Iman, sorry. So, what are you going to do? We are going to experiment and test each one. But after 1 month or 2 months, we will decide to continue dealing with one provider, one supplier. This supplier is going to be the preferred supermarket. It is going to be the preferred supermarket. Why? For various reasons. We are comfortable while we are dealing with him or her. Their cost is reasonable. The quality of the products are good. The treatment is very nice and human. So all these reasons are going to make us to formulate a judgment. This judgment, according to it, we are going to give a title for this service or product provider to be the preferred one. The preferred one. Let's go on with this survey. Let's talk about another question. One of the questions in the survey, do you have a multiple tiers for ranking suppliers? What's the meaning of the word multiple tiers? Multiple ties, types, or ranks, or levels. So the multiple levels for ranking suppliers. How we are going to rank them? Ranking them to be the top, or to be the middle, or to be the low. All the time, remember, you are going to find that more than half of the respondents, half of the customers, they said, yes, we are ranking the suppliers according to certain order of ranks. Well, about 40% they said, we do not rank them. 9% they said, we do not want to answer this question. So the majority is customers are ranking the suppliers or the sales companies. We will talk about them. Be patient. Before we are going to talk about them in a detailed way, and quickly answering your question, Farah, when we are saying multiple tiers, the relationship which is going to link us with the supplier, which is going to link us with the sales agency, this relationship, it is going to be ranked according to various, or according to the nature of the relationship. This relationship might be traditional. This relationship might be a kind of partnership. This relationship might be a kind of a preferred relationship, and so on. So this kind of relationship, according to them, we can generalize tiers for each supplier. Isn't it clear? If it isn't clear, we will talk about this in a very detailed way after 2 minutes. Now, let's talk about a fourth question in this survey. When this survey, have any suppliers attained and lost top level status? The majority, they are saying 77% of the respondents, they said yes. About 23, they said no. What do you understand from this? Or in other words, what is your interpretation for the answer of this question? What can you understand, Hanin?
The supplier can satisfy the customer if he recognizes exactly what is his needs and he satisfies it.
And?
We can say that we have positive and continuing relationship between suppliers and the customers.
Good. And? The main answer?
We have
your status to be an excellent provider or supplier, or to be a very good supplier, or to be a good supplier, or to be a poor supplier, is fluctuating. In other words, we do not talk about any guarantee which is going to maintain or preserve your rank of excellent provider to be forever. In other words, we have to remember the competitors and what they are going to do to crash you out from this excellent rank. To crash you out from this excellent rank. So, majority of the suppliers, they are going to lose or attain a new rank throughout their existence in the market. Is this reality? This is the reality of the market. Suppliers or sales agencies, sometimes they are going to be the leader force or the leading force, and sometimes they are going to be out of the competition. This is the fate of the market. This is our life. So this is imposing us as a sales agency to do what? To be attentive and to be competitive all the times. If you are not going to be attentive and competitive all the times, this means you will lose your strong bonds of competition. If you lose them, other competitors will crash you and get you out from the market. So, should we sleep? Should we rest? No. Should we continue learning? Yes. Should we continue developing our strategies and policies of work? Yes. Also yes. This is the meaning of this question. Any question, any comments about this? Now, let's go on. Also in this survey, the survey is trying to provide us with various criteria according to which we can classify if the supplier is a top performing or low performing. If you are going to be one among or in the group of the top performing sales agencies, this means we have to take all these traits into consideration. Trait number 1, quality. Trait number 2, on-time delivery. Trait number 3, service. 4, ISO 9000 certification for quality, good response or flexibility, good management. These factors, they are decisive factors. So according to them, we can classify ourselves to be top performing sales agencies. Now, a criterion which is called the quality, it is occupying about 28%. It is occupying about 28% in the criteria of evaluating our performance to say if we are top performed or low performed. Later on, if we are going to talk about on-time delivery, we are talking about 14%. This 14% is, it refers to the credibility and to the faith of the supplier or sales agency. In other words, customers will evaluate you as a supplier or as a sales agency according to your faith, according to your credibility, and they will evaluate you as a top performed agency according to on-time delivery. If you are honest, if you are frank, and if you are faithful. If you didn't maintain your promise, if you didn't keep your word, this means you will lose about 14% from the overall evaluation of the top performing sales agencies or suppliers. Clear? Later on, we are talking about a third criterion, which is service. Service, it is entitled for about 12%. Later on, ISO 9000 certification with 8%, good response or flexibility 7%, and 5% for the good management, and 3% or another 5% for other factors. So what do we understand from this distribution or this graph? What do we understand?
The supplier should take their account this issue to continue the relationship between them and the...
To classify myself as a top perform sales agency. Excellent. Type. Priority should be given to which kind of criterion?
Quality.
Excellent. So quality should be given the major attention and the major effort if we would like to talk about top performing agency. Why? Because it is occupying about 30% of the evaluation which will be drawn by the customers about me as a sales agency. Clear? Any question? Any comments? Okay, that's fine. Let's go to the final thing for today's class. We are now going to talk about tiring. Listen here. Remember, if we are going to talk about the tiring of suppliers or tiring of sales agencies, we are going to talk about tire number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each tire, it reflects, it mirrors the relationship between the sales business and the customer. Well, let's give example. Tire number 1, we called it the end supplier. The end supplier, it focuses on one major thing, which is we are having just mere traditional relationship with the supplier.
Transaction.
Mere traditional relationship with this customer. Or sorry, with the supplier. Let's give example. Imagine you are coming to the university. In the middle of the road, you felt thirsty. So what do we need here? We need a product. This product is called bottle of water. We are going to enter the closest shop to buy and to attain this bottle of water to satisfy our need. Is this true? Yes. It's true. Do we know the owner of this shop?
No.
Do we know this supplier?
No.
Does he know us?
No.
Did we deal with him before? No. So this kind of supplier, we classify him to be end supplier. So the end supplier is, or we are having, a mere traditional relationship with him or her. Traditional relationship, arm length relationship, usually established at individual level over time. Also, if you are going to dig in the products or the services which he or she is going to offer us, they are traditional, or they are not strategic, or they can be provided by tens and even hundreds and hundreds of suppliers. Because of this, we are talking about standardized, non-strategic products for which there are many qualified suppliers. So in this case, we are talking about end supplier. Is it clear?
Yes.
It's very clear. Now, let's upgrade now the nature of the relationship between the supplier and the customer. This relationship can be upgraded to the second level. In the second level, we will talk about preferred tire, preferred supplier. In the preferred supplier, as we said before a while and during the class, before 10 minutes, what did we say? Imagine you are going to have 3 supermarkets in your neighborhood, and after dealing with the 3 supermarkets, you will decide to continue dealing with one person. This person is now the preferred one. Why? Because we built a very high level of relationship founded on trust, cooperation, and familiarity. Trust, familiarity, and cooperation. If there is a high level of trust, familiarity, and cooperation, then this person, I am going to trust him or her, he or she is going to be my preferred supplier. So, relationship centers on suppliers of products and service, but there is a high level of familiarity and trust between the two ends of the equation, between the supplier and the customer. Go on.
I have example about the preferred
Go on.
supplier or customer. The taxes office in Gaza. If you come to the university with the tax office, you in the first stage have alternative tax office to come to the university, but by the time you will decide on one tax office just to come to the university with.
Because this is our preferred one. Good. Any question about the preferred? So remember, these are the keywords. Trust and familiarity. We know him and he knows us. We are familiar with him or her and they are familiar with us. So this is our choice. This is our preferred supplier. Let's go now to the third level. This level of relationship between the customer and supplier can be upgraded to the third rank or to the third tier. With this third tier, we called it extended. Let's give example. Imagine your mother at home. She asked you to buy, number one, food items. Number two, certain clothes items. Number three, stationery item. What's the meaning stationery? Exactly, items. So these products, they are diversified and they have three categories. One of them belonging to the food, a second to the clothes, a third for stationery. If you are going to go to the preferred and you are going to go to your supermarket, which is the preferred? This preferred supermarket might not have these three categories of the items. So in this case, do you think you are going to buy some from these items from this supermarket and later on you are going to look for another alternative supplier? This might happen, but with limited probability. Why? Because customers all the time, they are looking for the convenient way. So they will say, for example, why we shouldn't go to the Al-Andalus Center or Metro Center. But why? Because these centers, they are a very big suppliers. All these three items of the products can be available in one place. Because of this, the Andalus and Metro, all of them, they are classified to be extended supply. Why they are extended? Because simply they are going to provide us with a breadth of products and services, and usually across numerous sites. So, usually involve several collaborative processes, product design, inventory management, sales from training, etc. The supplier is viewed best in class. So the key word for the extended supplier is breadth. This supplier can provide us with different categories and levels of products and services. So it is more convenient for us to continue dealing with one buying center rather than to scatter or distribute our efforts, time, and cost among two suppliers. This is the meaning of extended. Examples: Andalus Center, Metro, and so on. Exactly. Let's go to the third and to the final one. The fourth and the final tier of these suppliers, we call them the partner. Listen here. Generally, if you are going to talk about the fourth rank or the fourth tier, which is called the partner, here we are referring to something called a strategic partnership between the customer and the supplier. Somebody is going to say, are we talking about strategic partnership between the supplier and the customer? In other words, the partner category or the partner supplier, this partner or this supplier, he or she is going to provide us with something called our strategic positions as customers. In other words, our relationship with this supplier is classified or is described to be crucial, exclusive, and special. Once again, critical, special, and exclusive. With these kinds or types of relationship, they will help me as a customer to maintain my competitive position. They will help me to maintain my competitive position as a customer. Why? And can you give me example? Or how? Can you provide us with a tangible example? Okay, look at here. Imagine you have a small business, or you have something called restaurant. The restaurant is providing the customers with service of meals.
Yes.
On the other hand, we are talking about العائلة. Bakery. Bakery is providing us with a product which is called bread. Now let's hear. In this example, your restaurant is classified to be what? The customer. والعائلة bakery, مخبز العائلة is classified to be supplier. Now, imagine this supplier is going to block this product of bread on you. Do you think you as a customer or you as a restaurant, are you going to continue providing this service to your customers? No. In this case, you are going to lose your competitive position. Why? Because I cannot continue working in the restaurant without bread. So in this case, we are talking about what? A partnership relationship between your restaurant, called customer, and the supplier here, العائلة. Well, this is the meaning of how العائلة, العائلة bakery, will be classified to be a partner supplier for my restaurant.
Yes.
Well, this is reminding us with what we stated more than once. Don't think of the customer as an individual all the times.
Yes. We can.
The customer can be a business, can be an organization, can be a government, can be a people. Any questions, any comments about these tires? These tires are very important. Any question, any comments about this? Now, listen. Iman, she told me, or she sent me an email last night, and she said, we would like you to attach the major conditions or the topics which we would like to focus on in our group research paper. Well, I attached them before I came to the class. Therefore, if you are going to go to my personal website, click on sales management, second link, you are going to find group work number 1. You click on it, you are going to find 2 Word pages. These 2 pages, they are including a very detailed information about the nature and the topics and the ideas and the points which you should focus while you are writing down your final paper for this course. Any question, any comments? Okay, now listen. Next time, who would like to make a presentation? If you would like. If you not, that's fine. Do you want? Okay. I do not like hesitant people. Therefore, I'm going to continue explaining alone. Thank you very much.